Shane Lawson. Mate, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
Thanks, George. Much appreciative.
Shane, your business is North Coast Pool Inspections.
Correct.
And you operate across multiple states.
Correct. All the way from Ballina to North Brisbane and everywhere in between, east and west of the M1.
And we're going to unpack that. Actually, it's one of my questions is, mate, you live a bit of a double life, don't you, between northern New South Wales and Brisbane?
Correct.
You sort of float between the two quite regularly.
Yes, I live in a beautiful place called Catharina Beach, but I also live in Coorparoo. So do a couple of days down there, but because the market is really growing in Queensland in general, I do a lot of work up here.
Yep. So let's just car park that for now and we'll come back to it. My fun fact for you is you spent your career in the police force. Is that correct? Welcome to the Raising the Bar podcast, where we storytell excellence in Queensland property. I'm your host, George Cyrus from Empire Legal.
Correct. I did 24 years in Byron Bay. I finished up in July this year. Saw a lot of things that were crazy.
I was going to say, mate, you've seen some things over the years, I would imagine.
And dealt with everyone from the Chris Hemsworths down to the homeless person and everyone in between. One thing it did allow me was to learn how to talk to everyone, but also provide really good customer service.
So 2.5 decades of doing that.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, wow. And you saw the place evolve, obviously, from what it was 25 years ago to now.
Yeah, I call it North Bondi now, because obviously the migration of Sydney and Melbourne coming up, can't blame them because it's beautiful. Brisbane as well. There's a lot of growth, people moving up because it's so good up here.
Well, mate, I was just reading some stats this week. The Gold Coast now is second most expensive for housing values in Australia after Sydney.
Yeah, I believe it. What I think a lot of people don't realise is how good Brisbane is, in that you can go from the city to Manly in 20 minutes. You can go to the north side. The infrastructure is really good up here. And I'll be the first to admit, it's really opened my eyes of how beautiful the city is.
Born and bred here, grew up here. We used to call it Brisboring, but man, not anymore. No way in the world. Brisbane's unreal.
Yeah, it's definitely evolved hugely.
Mate, let's jump into it. A first question I've got for you is, let's talk pools, all about pools. So for buyers and sellers, maybe we can split this into two different sections. You live and breathe pools, doing the inspections every day of the week. Maybe if we look at it first through the lens of a seller, what tips do you have for sellers in the market? Say you're preparing to sell a property, you got a pool. What do you do? What's the journey like? Where can you add some value to the listener?
Definitely for the sellers, they need to landscape their properties, as in cut back trees that are, going over the barriers. Obviously, just simple things that will save them time and money. Make sure their gates are working, CPR charts. A big one, though, as I said, going back to it, is cutting back as much possible in your property. And the reason I say that is people don't realise how much work a garden is.
The Greeks did, mate. That's why we concrete everything.
Yeah, exactly.
No trees, concrete
so
everything. But are you saying from a compliance perspective as well?
Yeah, as well. So there's a thing called all barriers are 1.2 metres. So your fences are always 1.2 metres. And there's a thing called no climbable zone. So you go up 900 mils from the top of the barrier, out 900 outside the pool fence, and also 300 mils on the inside of the pool fence. So basically any trees in there with branches and whatnot, they basically claim that people can climb over, young kids.
Right. So that'd make it non-compliant.
Yep. So cleaning up all of your trees that are right up against the barrier. And a lot of times when people build pools, they're not thinking when they're going to sell in 15, 20 years' time or 5 years' time. So a lot of times they build gardens and put trees up against the fences. Unfortunately, when I come along, I say to them, look, you've got to cut this back. Sometimes you've got to have some tough conversations with vendors and just go, look, it's not compliant because of this, this, and this.
Yes.
It's not the end of the world. Basically, if you cut it back, you can still have the stuff there, but just not as bushy.
I wouldn't have even thought about that as a problem. And you're right. There's no way in the world that your average Joe is thinking about that. So when does that become apparent? It could be if they're not diligent, it's when you rock up to do the inspection and you have to have that conversation with them.
Correct. A lot of times I have a battery-operated chainsaw in the back of the van and I'll cut things down for people right there and then. But because we live in an environment that's quite warm, it rains a lot, and things grow so much, suddenly 3-4 years later, the tree's 5, 10, 15 feet high.
That's beyond your scope. I get you got the chainsaw in the back and you're just doing that as a I'm just going to help you out type thing. You can't remove a whole tree.
Correct.
You can just chop a branch off or something to help them out.
Yeah, so basically it's just maintaining the trees that are very close to the boundary or the barrier, just so people can't climb or kids can't climb over them.
And you said gates as well is another common one, what, just not closing or not being compliant.
They're supposed to self-close from all positions, so basically a couple of inches out, halfway out and fully out. A lot of the times hinges, they rust internally. So it's a bit of a nightmare, I'd be the first to admit, and they make numerous different types of hinges. So as an example, I'm doing one at the moment on a riverfront, and just to get the hinges, I've got to get them from Melbourne. But it's not self-closing. So it is an issue. A lot of people don't realise that. They just think, oh yeah, my pool is compliant because it's got a fence around it, but it's all these little 1%ers that actually make it not compliant.
And this particular example with the hinges, that's obviously time delay problem. If it's not a standard, you'd fix it today, you've got to order this part, wait for it to come, because you can't sign it off until it's compliant, right?
Correct.
So
yeah.
do you do your inspection and say, hey, here's the issues we've got to address, and until they're all fixed up, you can't sign off and finish the...
Correct. So what I do is I go out there, do an initial inspection, do up all the reports, basically then send it obviously to the owner. They may want to do it themselves. Otherwise, they'll get me to do the works, and then I'll re-inspect the property and then issue the certificate to the solicitor, vendor, and the owner.
Gotcha. Okay. Is it a common thing that the inspector will also do the works, or is that a unique point of difference for you in your experience?
I won't say it's a common thing. Some people like to do, one and not the other. I do have other guys work for me for scopes of works that are a lot bigger than I can do.
Yep.
I've got a builder that raises fences, puts in new fencing for me. It just depends on the job.
Okay, so if it's like a quick handyman, easy job, and you can do it in the moment, you usually offer that as a service.
Correct. I won't charge for it usually.
What a great value add. But if it's a big job, obviously you say, hey, look, this is beyond me as the inspector, but these blokes can give you a hand.
Correct.
To
I'll
get you sorted out.
I'll get them quotes, give it to them.
Yeah.
It's a little bit unique. A lot of times people go out there and they'll literally just do the inspection, but sometimes you might deal with an owner who hasn't got the money. And I say to him, look, if you don't have the money to make it compliant, at least get a quote, put it in the contract, and then that way, as a potential buyer, they can see how much it's going to cost and they can discount off the asking price. As I always say, we don't have a housing crisis, we've got a trades crisis.
Mate, we could do a whole other episode on that, I reckon.
Yeah.
We definitely do. Question then, because again, I just don't know personally, rough cost, what's a price range to get compliant pool safety done? Does it vary? What's like a rough range that people should budget if they need to get this done?
It's $250 plus GST.
Yep.
That's for the initial inspection.
That's providing it's tidy, right? If
Correct.
there's not all this other dramas and got to fix all this stuff.
I have seen properties literally have got no pool fencing whatsoever.
Yeah, that's thousands. Tens of who knows? That's
exactly.
big money.
That's big money. Most times, properties, it can be $500 to $1,000 to make it compliant. If it's got, let's just give an example, hinges that are not working, no CPR charts, they might need screens on their windows.
CPR charts. So is that, you must have them?
Have to have it. You'd be surprised. It's probably one of the most common things that people don't have.
Are we talking for Queensland and New South Wales?
Everywhere. Because, and the only reason I say that is a lot of people just don't like the look of them.
I was going to say, they're not aesthetically pleasing,
Correct.
are they? Like, I'm thinking about my pool at home, and there is a CPR chart just sort of sitting down below there in the underneath the shelf.
Yep.
And I was wondering, like, because it's not mounted, I'm like, do I even need this? So, like, for compliance purposes, you do.
Correct.
Right. And screens, you were just saying, is that window screen? Is that
Yeah,
so kids can't jump through a window and then jump
Correct.
in the
You've
pool?
got to have either a secure mesh or you restrict the windows so they only can open 100 mils. And that's obviously so kids can't get through.
Makes sense. Gotcha. Okay, so that's on the selling side. Say we're now flipping over to the buying side. Is there anything in particular that you look for beyond? I guess those are obviously all the same principles apply. If you're acting for a buyer, do you act for buyers?
I do act for a number of buyers agents have contacted me, said, hey, can you go out to here?
Yep.
Have a look at the pool and tell us what you think of the barrier. Is it in good condition? Because sometimes you can have a barrier, it will pass, but really it's in pretty poor condition. Fences, rot out.
Yeah, it might pass the actual tick and flick, but in terms of, is this a good setup, or is this going to cost my client money later, which a buyer's agent's looking at down that angle?
Correct.
Yeah, so you can come in and go, this is garbage, or yeah, this is Mickey Mouse, and we're all good.
100%. Yeah.
Okay. So is there anything in particular on the buying side, just from your experience, or any stories you've got? If you're a buyer out there and you're looking and there's a pool, unless you've got a buyer's agent, I reckon most buyers wouldn't even think twice. They just go, is there a compliance certificate? Yes, okay, and they just move on. They wouldn't even think again about a pool.
Most people don't even realise they need a compliance certificate until they actually sell. Then the agent or the solicitor's like, hey, and even as a buyer, they would be like, oh, okay, is this legal, as in the certificate? They don't know what it actually entails. So it's a bit of an education on their behalf, as in realising that when they go in, that, gates need to shut.
Yes.
They need to have screens. I remember doing one, and it's quite a common thing, unfortunately. As you're walking out the front door, some of the rectification works are being taken down by the seller. Definitely not legal.
Yeah.
No one would even realise it until, the next time they sell it.
Okay, so maybe the tip for the buyers out there would be a pool safety certificate's required, and at least here in Queensland, if the seller doesn't provide it, then the buyer has an obligation to get one after the fact. You were giving that price range before of up to, say, $1,000 for basic stuff, but if there's big problems, say you're a buyer, you're buying this property, it's got a pool, you go, oh, don't worry about it, I'll get my own later. You could be on the hook for tens of thousands of dollars potentially. That example you said, if there's no fence or the fence isn't compliant. So maybe the conversation here is you need to do your due diligence. You need to make sure
100%.
that you have that certificate, at least get the vendor to provide it, or at least give a report of what's wrong before you go ahead and buy that house.
Then that way you can cost it out. You can still sell a house with a non-compliance, just the onus goes on to the buyer to fix it up within X amount of time. And people just don't realise how much stuff costs. Most people are tapped out when they're buying houses.
They bought the best possible house they have. They haven't budgeted for a pool repair.
Yeah, they haven't budgeted for that extra bit. You might have Brisbane City Council knocking on your door going, hey, you've got to fix these issues up. And then they start to go, oh my God, it's how much? That's why I say to people, if you're not going to get a compliant certificate when you sell, at least give them the invoice of what a quote is. Then the potential buyers know what it's going to cost them to.
Yeah, then they can make an informed decision. Otherwise, it's just going to stall the deal, isn't it? Like
100%.
any savvy buyer, or at least the buyer's solicitor, their advice will be there going, no, go ask some more questions. And then the deal just stalls until you get out there and you can actually do that inspection and quote it up.
Yep.
Gotcha. All right, I reckon that's good for point number one, mate. That's some good value for the guys listening out there. The next question I have for you is a little quick fire round. How long have you had your business?
4 years.
4 years. If you had to start over tomorrow, what would you keep doing and what would you not do? And you can have a second to think.
Keep doing would be just getting in front of agents and solicitors. That's your bread and butter.
Because that's where your business comes from, right? Referral business.
Correct. I would say 90% of my work is referrals.
Wow. Yep. So you rely on these guys to put your name out there?
Correct. I had a phone call the other day from an agent who got my details from one of the best agents in Brisbane, and they said, we want to be on board.
We've got a whole section on that, actually. We're going to talk about is how you grew your profile, in particular with the more prestigious properties. So I might just car park that for there.
Yep.
So keeping in front of referrers, yep, mate, boots on the ground, that totally works, hey? Building relationships
100%.
with them. Yep.
There's not much I wouldn't change because everything's worked and it's grown exponentially. When I first started, I was doing just a couple a week and it's grown over the years.
Yep. And that's your full-time gig, obviously. You're not doing the policing anymore, so this is you now.
Loving life.
Yep.
2.0. You see some amazing places. The only thing I probably wouldn't do would be, it's not all advertising for me. So certain things work, but there's a lot of advertising doesn't work for me.
As in, are we talking like paid advertising?
Paid advertising, print. I've had a number of people ask me to do print advertising, and I have done it a couple of times. Didn't work.
Are we talking like...
in magazines?
Yeah, mate, we've done stuff like that. We've done Google ads. We've done all sorts of stuff over the years. Similar to you, we are predominantly a referral-based business. And I'd say more than 50% of our work comes from the referral network, mainly real estate agents, mortgage brokers.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've tried Google ads, we've tried sponsoring all this stuff, and nothing works as well as having a good referrer that trusts you and passes your name on.
Correct.
So it's the same thing, hey. It's just that's it. All that other stuff I found, mate, no one's clicking on us from a Google ad, and no one's going to give us a cold call off a magazine ad.
The amount of times people do, it's like minute.
No.
You just got to be in their front of their mind when they want you.
They go, you know what? Here's the thing. It's like, oh, who's the pool guy? Oh, it's Shane.
Yep.
That's what you want them to think. Same as us. If they're buying or selling a house, oh, Empire Legal, I'll give those guys a call.
Correct.
And that just comes from repetition. We were saying off air before that you were literally going through a shopping list of contacting real estate agents at the start. Hey, we just ring them and make friends with them and get in front of them.
Correct. I don't even know how many emails I did. God, I did a lot.
Like not 10 or 20. We're talking thousands.
Yeah, we're talking 500 plus emails, easy.
Yeah, that takes a lot of grunt work to send 500 emails.
Well, as I was telling you, I was in hospital having a hip replacement. This is when I first started my business. I had 2 weeks in hospital, and I literally was on my laptop from dawn to dusk, couldn't do anything else, and I was just calling people.
Well, mate, from what I know about you, you're here, there, everywhere, doing appointments here, New South Wales. I could imagine you in hospital for 2 weeks. You would have been going crazy, sitting still like that. So you had to do something to...
Yeah, climbing up the walls, definitely.
Yeah, we're cut from the same cloth, mate. Yeah. I struggled to sit still for a long period of time, let alone 2 weeks.
Correct.
But hey, you turned into a positive, right? Off the back of that, you started building your brand.
Correct. Yeah,
very cool.
You quickly realise what works and what doesn't. And as I was saying to you before, what got me my biggest, if you want to call it, in certain areas, did a pool inspection for a very good agent, Will Phillips, in Byron Bay a couple of years ago. And I literally had not slept for 14 hours because I did a night shift in the police. And Will was like, if you are that keen to work for me, I want you on the books. And another one was, which I can't sort of believe I did it, was I went to an open home where Sarah Hackett was doing a property. And I went up to her and I gave her my details and I said, I want your work. I think she was a little bit shocked, actually. She was like, I've never had a tradesperson come in front of me. And I did that to Simon and Courtney Caulfield as well. Those guys are running so fast with their properties and they're doing such a professional service. I want to be involved with those people because they are the best of the best.
The Sarah Hackett's of the world, the Caulfields, those guys need reliability and they just need a good job done.
Correct.
Right. At the end of the day, they just want to know that if they call you and say, I need the pool done, that you will go, yep, I'll be there and I'll get it sorted. That's all those guys want.
Basically, it's just trying to do the best possible service because you don't want a property to stall whilst it's going through the negotiation phase because, we haven't got a pool certificate. We haven't got this. We haven't got that. You want it a seamless transaction because you're dealing with people going through a divorce, death,
all sorts of stuff.
All sorts of stuff. They are on the edge. And it's quite stressful for a lot of people in the transaction. So you've got to try and provide a professional service, seamless.
Yeah, and look, those kind of operators, I'd imagine they would have a process built. So
Correct.
They wouldn't be waiting until end of a building and pest, for example, to even consider a pool safety inspection. I would imagine that straight after they've signed that Form 6 and they've been appointed, they'd have a checklist and one of them would be, is there a pool? Is there a certificate? If not, let's get that sorted
100%.
Long before it's even open for inspection.
100%.
And that's why they're good operators.
Correct, yeah. It's got to be, like I said, seamless and quick. There's some agents out there, they're selling 100 plus properties a year, running at an incredible speed.
Mate, I've got Aaron Woolard on this afternoon, actually, in Sarah Hackett's office there. And yeah, Aaron sells well over 100 properties a year. Well, him and his team.
He's a prime example, really professional. They're so busy.
Yeah, but, he's been doing it for, well over a decade, and he's ironed out a process, and he's built that up over time. When I started working with Aaron, it was just him and Anissa. There was two of them, and now I think their team's like 7 or 8 people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've got that process built, right?
Correct.
Let's keep chugging along. The next thing I've got for you is you live a split life. We touched on this briefly. I want to understand, how do you manage it? What's it like living between 2 cities? What tips do you have for anyone out there? I guess you work out of your car almost. I know we've sort of spoken about this a bit in the past.
I don't sleep, but you know what? I love it. I have a passion for it. I basically can do anywhere and any time sort of thing for the pool inspections. Like, as an example, to this afternoon, I'm going to Manly,
Yeah, and the Bayside, yep.
Greenbank. By the end of the afternoon, I'll be on the Gold Coast doing a number down there.
Wow.
Back up on Wednesday doing inspections up here and Thursday around here. So it's just being organised. I've got a VA that helps me with just organising where I'm going to be. A game changer. It's saved a lot of time, and I've just got a really good process on the back end. You've just got to be organised, really organised.
That's the word that's popped up a couple of times, organisation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I live on the northern end of the Gold Coast, actually,
That's
but
right, yep.
work up in Brizzy here. So I'm up here every second day. I get up early and hit the road early because of traffic and all that jazz. I couldn't imagine that extra layer of organisation you'd have to come from where you come from, because you're, at least another hour south from Hope Island, aren't you?
Hour and 15 to Coorparoo.
That's pretty good.
On a good run.
With a clean run.
Yep.
And that's way better than I thought.
I make sure that I come up really early in the morning.
Yep.
Or late at night when there's no traffic.
Yeah. I can't believe that if you get a clean run that it's only an hour and 15.
We came up last night, was an hour and 20 minutes.
Geez, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was on a public holiday.
But if you get it wrong, it's like triple that. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
But it's just organisation.
Okay, so that organisation, let's just dig a little bit deeper into that then. I imagine you've set everything up so that you can do the whole job from start to finish from your car, like laptop, all your tools,
Correct.
Everything you need, so you don't have to go back to base. You're mobile.
100%. I literally have done many reports on the side of the road, 15 minutes after I've done the inspection, because they have to exchange.
Yeah,
that
time
day.
sensitive.
Time sensitive, and literally they can fall over.
Organisation. If there's a listener out there that's maybe in a similar boat to you, you're a bit of a lone shark, I guess, cruising around doing your thing. Over the last 4 years, if you reflect back from, say, day one to now 4 years along the line, is there anything that stands out to you where you've gone, man, I've had such great traction by doing this?
Simon Caulfield. He said to me...
Tell me more. I know Mr. Caulfield very well.
Simon said to me one day, same thing, turned up to an open home. He goes, get a VA. That was game changing.
Yep.
I had so much more time. I do everything on my phone. I've got an app that I've set up specific to me. Everything I've put in there is from my design. And then being able to do all the reports, the VA will organise it. And then when I get back, I can just check it off and then send it straight away. So rather than having to do all the reports, she puts it in place, then I send it off.
Yeah, cool. So there's no way you'd be able to get as many jobs done without that help that you've got.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's off the back of a convo with Simon, saying, do yourself a favour and get this done.
Yeah, I watched him doing an open home, and we're talking about VAs, and he's like, do you have a VA? And I was like, no. He said to me, look into it. It'll save you a lot of time.
Well, there you go. Shout out to Simon.
Yeah.
That's a huge tip out there, I guess, that we're passing down the line now, isn't it? If you're doing this on your own, there's ways to go and be way more efficient that's cost effective.
100%. It's a little bit tedious getting it right, but you know what? It pays off.
You've inspired me, mate. I've actually been thinking about the VA route for myself for a long time, and I still do all my own stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, I've been thinking about it for a long time, so maybe I should actually take the plunge. And
yeah, it's definitely worth it, yeah.
We're nearly there. We sort of touched on this before, but a bit of a different angle. If I was to say to you, what's one thing that keeps you sharp 24/7? Can be gym, nutrition, anything, mate, anything. What springs to mind for you that keeps you going?
I don't know whether you knew, but I was a professional surfer as a kid.
No, you've done everything, yeah.
So I was very fortunate. I got paid to surf when I was young.
How good's that? Professional surfer.
Yeah.
So, that's great.
Love the ocean. It's very therapeutic. I think I did 52,000 kilometres, I'm deadly serious, in the last year of driving, which is a lot. To be able to run, eat healthy, I have a nighttime routine, go to bed at a certain time, I'm up early in the morning. I wouldn't be able to do it unless I looked after myself. And whether that be surfing, eating healthy, you got to bring energy to the table, positive energy, because it attracts.
Yeah, the power of positivity. I find now I'm a bit allergic to negative Nellies, I call them. I just have no interest in it. I want positive people.
You want to be around people that are going to enhance your life. I've got a good mate. His godfather was one of Australia's richest men. And he said to him on his deathbed, whatever you do, spend it with people that enhance your life. Look after yourself, eat healthy, do stuff you love.
Yeah, I say I like to break bread with good people.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not breaking bread with good people, go find good people to break
Correct.
bread
Yeah.
with. Yeah, simple as that. And that was from one of Australia's richest men, did you say, that advice? There you go. Yeah. Mate, that's perfect. Let's go into this last main point. You gave us a bit of a teaser before, but I want to dig deeper on that angle of how did you break into working with luxury agents? Because you've done it. Your social media presence is in the pool safety space. Mate, no one else is doing it. And I'm not just saying that because you're sitting in this chair. It's true. I follow probably every real estate agent with a profile in Brisbane and Gold Coast. And I consistently see Simon Caulfield, other people in that Place Kangaroo Point office resharing your posts with the pools.
Yep.
And it put you on the map. Like, I knew you from before then,
Yes.
but now I see you pop up more and more. And I'm like, oh, he's onto something here. No one else in your space is doing it. So yeah, let's just talk about that a bit.
I remember pinching myself when I first got that first property from Simon and Courtney, or the first property from Sarah Hackett, or, Tony O'Doherty, Amanda
All
Beck,
big names.
Number of the Queensland guys, even northern New South Wales, Michael Coloshi. I remember making sure that I did the reports. Like, literally, I was walking out the door, with Sarah's, I was doing the report like 5 minutes later.
Yeah, well, just straight back to your car.
I want to get more of those. So every time I do an amazing property, take a happy snap, tag the agents in. They're helping me, so I've got to help them. I'm not saying I could sell a property off my social media, but it just gives presence. A lot of the agents, they obviously talk to each other.
The high performers, they all know each other too, and they're all keeping tabs on each other.
100%.
For sure. They're all in that field, and they're all going, oh, what are they doing?
Like, as an example, I had a call from Drew Davies at Ascot.
We work with Drew as well, actually. Yeah. Drew's a legend, yeah.
So I got a call from Drew's EA the other week, and she said, can you do an inspection? And like, I've been wanting to do Drew's work and their agency's work for a while. I called in there, and it's just like you keep knocking on the door and it eventually opens. So for me, doing those good posts on social media, it definitely has slowly but surely organically grown.
Well, especially if you've got a Simon Caulfield resharing your stuff, and then a Drew Davies might see it, a Sarah Hackett might see it. That's part of the strategy, right?
Yeah.
So when you go and door knock these guys, I've seen this guy before.
Yeah. And I don't think, I don't know if it's that unique or not, but I really don't care to door knock. It's not that hard. It's like, you know what? Hi, how you going? I'm offering a service. I can tell you right now, even if you've got someone else, just give me one pool. And then I will show you how good and how quickly it can be done. That in itself, because time is of the essence in these transactions, is what saves them money.
Let's double down on this. This is where the magic is. I think this comes back to other people's fear of rejection, what you're talking about with this point. And most other people probably aren't going to walk up to one of these high-profile agents at an inspection and have a chat with them. And I think it's stupid that they don't. Like, why wouldn't you? If you've been waiting to get in front of a high-profile agent and you're at a pool inspection, why the heck wouldn't you try and make friends with these people and ask for their business?
100%. I mean, if you just ask the question, all they can say is no.
You took the words out of my mouth. What's the worst thing that'll happen is they'll tell you to bugger off.
Yeah, 100%.
And then you go, all good, man. No stress. That's it. Your life goes on, doesn't it? You're in no worse of a position.
It's not that difficult, but customer service is something that a lot of people are not good at. They can't gain rapport. And I don't know if it's this generation, but it's really easy to be helpful to people and it will just come back.
When you've got a good product as well and you add that value, it makes it really easy to refer someone. But if you bang out these quick inspections and everything's good and you communicate properly, why wouldn't they want to keep using you?
You just got to be very clear and transparent, and like you said, communication is key.
So is there even a secret sauce for this point? If you were to look back and go, how did I break into the prestige market? What do you boil it down to? Was it just going and just having the chat with them?
Having the chat with them, just telling them, this is what I can do for you. It's not rocket science what I'm doing. The agents trust me. I might have to have a difficult conversation, or there could be a husband and ex-wife going for a
Yeah,
marriage
yeah.
split. That's one thing that I've learned. I can navigate a very tight situation really easy.
Especially when they're selling at home, like we said earlier, like that divorce situation or death, getting ready to sell mum's home and she passed away.
Correct.
And,
The emotions are high.
Yeah. The fact that you can help diffuse that situation,
If
that's gold.
100%. If there's one thing that I learnt from being in the police for like 25 years was how to talk to people, show them respect and be able to navigate it with the least resistance.
You want to make everyone's life easier and get the result.
100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Make it easy for them.
One more quick fire question for you. We're a Queensland-based property law firm up here. Queensland versus New South Wales. Is there any major nuances between? Obviously, QBCC manages the Queensland pool safety stuff here. I imagine it's the similar body down in New South Wales. Is there actual weird compliance differences between the states, or it's pretty much the same?
The laws are a lot better in Queensland.
Better as in stricter, or?
As an example, you would have seen infinity edge pools.
Yeah.
So in New South Wales, you can't use the pool wall as the barrier. You've got to have another fence below the infinity edge pool. So aesthetically, it actually doesn't look any good. Queensland, their laws are definitely better. I would say Queensland is better for everything for pool certification. I mean, even just, your Form 2s nowadays. The agents are a lot more organised. You don't have to have a compliance certificate in New South Wales until you're actually selling. See, a lot of times in Queensland, they're a lot more organised.
At that Form 2 stage. So whether that's the seller's disclosure, so we're talking at that seller's disclosure point, which usually is right after the Form 6 is signed.
Correct.
That question's coming up now.
Yep.
And it's being caught then. So I guess you'd be engaged early. Whereas you're saying in New South Wales, it's later down the path.
Correct. The rules are similar, pretty much, but a number of issues in New South Wales, you've got to have your boundaries have got to be 1,800 millimetres high. So majority of pools in New South Wales are not compliant. If they're an old property, the pool fences are like 1,200 high.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So
does that mean that when it comes time for you to inspect, you're like, nah, we've got to put new fencing in because it's not compliant?
You've got to increase the fencing.
The height to make it,
to make it compliant. So it can be quite expensive.
Yeah, right.
And it's probably the last time that people want to dip in their pocket and actually hand out some more money.
Yeah, at that point, they're just like, oh, how much more is it going to cost me to get this house listed? I wasn't expecting to spend this.
Correct.
But
but overall, Queensland rules are really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
And sounds like it's pretty quick from when you finish, providing it's all compliant. Is it just a matter of you generating that certificate and you have to upload it to like a QBCC portal? Because that's how we view them on our side of things.
All my reports are done the same day.
Wow.
So as an example, if you have a inspection, even at 4:00 in the afternoon,
wow,
you'll have that report that day.
Nice.
So everything is done. It doesn't matter what it is. I'll make sure it's done. That's what I stand by. That's how you're generating your work, mate.
Yeah. That's the product speaking for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's if you want to call it, not law, but like it has to be done that day.
We adopted a similar thing when we were growing our business, Abby and I, where we said, and now our team does this too, we will respond to every email that day, even if it is, hey Shane, got your email, mate. It's 5:00 now. I'll come back to you tomorrow with some more details before lunch.
Yeah.
Cheers, George. And then you feel validated. He's seen it. I feel heard. And I've got a plan that he'll come back to me by this time tomorrow. Whereas if I respond at 9 a.m. the next day, depending on what it is, you might be sitting there from 5:00 freaking out if you really need to chat to us or whatever it might be in the dark. Whereas if you just communicate, we find it's just such a better mousetrap. And we say that to the team. You don't have to fix every problem today, but you at least need to communicate as to what's going to happen next.
Yeah. I remember Alex Phillips telling me,
like the Alex.
The Alex.
Yeah.
And he just said, answer your phone. He goes, it's not rocket science. Or go back on an email, answer the email.
Yep.
The quicker you can do it, the quicker you can actually get their business. And then it's just a trust.
It's so ironic. It's always the simple things. You go to ARIC and you hear all these guys talk and all these killers, all these 1%ers. It all comes back to doing the basic stuff properly, like answering the phone, prospecting, all that stuff. They've got their little plan and they don't miss it and they just do it consistently. Everyone I've noticed, there's no shortcut.
Yeah, you might be a 15-year overnight success. I admire a lot of these agents that are running really fast and selling a lot of properties, and they're 15-year overnight success, 20 years overnight success. They are killing it. But they have got systems and procedures, and I learn a lot from a lot of these agents of what to do, just different industry, putting it into my industry and making it work for me.
Yeah. Can I take out of this that can help me succeed in my business? Yeah. Yeah. One more question for you and then we're done. It's called the Golden Nugget. Not sure if you've heard of it.
Have heard.
Great, you're primed for it. So one golden piece of advice, again, you can zoom out from your business and pool inspections and just, we can talk generally in life here. You can have a second to think that if you were to give one piece of golden information onto somebody else, what would that be?
Be a good human being. It'll come back tenfold. Just be a good human being, because life's freaking tough for a lot of people at the moment. And if you help them out, don't expect something back in return. Be gracious. When I worked in the police for 25 years, it was, to be bluntly honest, a toxic environment. I saw a lot of bad stuff. But since I've left, someone told me, just be gracious, be gracious, be gracious. And I remember trying to put that into every day. Wake up, be gracious for 3 things every day. It's going to come back. And you know what? Your life is just so much more happier.
When you said not expecting it in return, I even think about when we first crossed paths. It was through a mutual friend of ours, Thomas. He said, oh, you could give this Shane guy a call. Give him a call. And I looked you up and I'm like, oh, I've seen you kicking around on Instagram, seen a few posts and whatnot. And I remember we met and I said, mate, look, where the conveyancing sits in the journey of where you pop up doing pools, we're usually right at the end. The reality is, and I said this to you when we met, I said, look, you're probably going to be able to introduce my business to more people in your network than I can to you. But when I get the opportunity to, I will. And then, hey, this popped up, for example, and then, you know, hopefully a few people will watch this and see and give you a call and can do some more work. But you haven't been saying, I'll give Empire a buzz, expecting me to give you 1-for-1 back or anything like that. And that's where it comes full circle with that golden nugget you just gave, mate. You didn't do it because you're like, oh, George is going to give me something. You're like, oh yeah, I can help them out. And then in perpetuity, something good will come back.
Exactly. There's just not enough of it in the world at the moment, I reckon. Just being gracious for what you got. Little things, big things, everything.
We're in Australia, man.
Yeah, best country in the world.
Yeah, we are so lucky to be here.
100%.
Yeah. I will pop in the show notes here all the social media channels, your number, email address for people to get in touch with you.
Thank you.
So if you are anywhere from, how far north do you go? What, Brizzy?
North Brisbane.
So North Brisbane all the way down to northern New South Wales.
Correct.
Yep.
And as far out west, you know, like half an hour, 45 minutes out west.
Yep, beauty. So basically, if you've got a pool and you're in the greater Brisbane, Gold Coast, northern New South Wales region, we've got your man. He's happy to help.
Call me.
Beauty. Mate, thanks for your time. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for letting us have a chat.